Truth be told, when I wonder what the future holds, it takes me out of the present. New moon, waxing, full moon, waning, crescent. Life cycles, teammates or rivals. Soul search, say of us, World War III, the goal's always survival. That's nature, day you're born when you meet your maker. Tears start chasing paper, burning trees or melting glaciers. But truth be told, when I wonder what the future holds, it's impossible to process, so I stay focused on my progress.
Welcome back to the Triple Captains podcast. Yes, I'm in the middle again. I'm snug here, wrapped up in my dressing gown. The games have been coming thick and fast. So there's one more game left this game week, which is the United and West Ham game, which is to be confirmed. But as it stands, it's been a decent game week for once, or for me. I'll let the lads speak for themselves. The regular viewers are getting accustomed to seeing me in the middle screen, so the one of the most points is the one that hosts. So I'm here again, but I still believe there could be a change into the game week. But obviously we had to from early because of the amount of games happening. So I'm currently in the lead for this game week. Guffs and Arc have both got Mbeumo, so if he gets a double, one of them could, possibly have been sitting here, but we're filming today, so they're not. So that's that. Lads, how's your week been? It's been only a couple of days since the last one, so yeah. How you guys feeling?
Yeah, all right, I guess. It's just going to be a busy month in December, lots of games. So this is sort of the first bit of what proves to be a very busy month.
Indeed. Arc, over there?
Yeah, I'm all good. A few regrets, but at the same time, I can see some progress. Although, strangely, for having a higher score this week than I have done for the past couple of weeks, I don't appear to have moved up. I appear to be moving down, which is quite interesting. But I did say I'm going to have some fun, so I did some rolling around, rolled the dice and so on. Some things didn't work out, but we move and we go again.
When we there's some things I noticed, but we'll talk about that a bit later. In fact, let's look at our teams now and what we've done, I guess. Guffs, how's your week been so far?
Yeah, I mean, same old story, really. I mean, I don't know what to really say. You might just replay last week and week before that, combination of just, bad luck and just some things that are not working out for me. On paper, the scoreline looked decent, but, in a week where there was lots of goals, we have obviously 9 at Man City, 7 at Villa. Goals were flying around this week. I didn't really get my share of goals, which was disappointing, really. I kind of needed my differentials to show up. So the likes of Minte, I needed more from Rodgers, and my differentials are not coming through for me, which is the frustrating thing, really. Obviously, these players that are doing well, they're doing well for everyone. The likes of, the Palace defenders and Haaland. Obviously, most people captain Haaland, but I need my guys who got low ownership to come through, and it's just not happening. So, again, we'll kind of go into it later in the show, but I need these 5 transfers now so I can just change things up because
have you got many AFCON players?
No, I just need to just get some guys on my team. One of the problems I have is
you just need a mini wildcard basically to help you out.
Yeah, I mean, one of my biggest issues is my keepers. I've got Dubravka and Pope. Pope's injured right now, and Dubravka just can't get a clean sheet. So I'm basically just playing with 10 men pretty much right now. Why
don't you just make your free change that you get?
Because I needed to change it elsewhere in the team. So that's why I didn't take a keeper. But
why are you not trying to do a minus? Because why are you not taking a minus if you feel like you need to If
I
you've
mean,
got no goalkeeper,
I did do a minus this week.
okay, and
So
you did a minus, and you still kept the birth car. Okay, fair enough.
Well, the minus I did this week is I took out. So I made 2 changes. I took out Sinesi, who didn't play, like I said I was going to do, and brought in Hall, which didn't work out for me really. But he's got 2 games. I'm hoping I can make it up in the next game. And I took out Eze because I felt Eze would be benched, which he was. He didn't do anything, and I brought in Mbeumo. So we'll hopefully that will come through for me.
To be honest, you both got Mbeumo, and I hope he does nothing.
Yeah. So I didn't want to do a -8. -4 was more than enough that I was going to do this game week. So yeah, we'll see what happens in Mbeumo. Either way, Arc is in front of me, so you know I'm behind him anyway. So there's no chance of me.
So if one of you gonna catch me, it's him.
It's him. Yeah, not me.
Fair enough. Statman.
Yeah, I had an interesting one for this week. Highs and lows of FPL, I guess. So I didn't want to take any minuses for the week. I relatively kept the same team that I had with one change. I know in the last episode I spoke about my change was likely to be me bringing in somebody from Liverpool, but I spun that completely on its head and I ended up going for Saka as a punt. So the idea behind that was that I was going to captain him, which I did. But obviously Arteta has been taking some lessons from Pep. So now we're moving from Pep roulette to Mikel's mix-up, because he put Saka on the bench. At that point, I was hoping, well, my vice is Haaland, so if he keeps Saka off the bench, on the bench, then I'll at least get the Haaland points. But ultimately, he brought him on. Obviously, he scored the goal and some, but he needed a bit more time to affect a bit more. There are a few things that he did where I was like, well, actually, he could have got himself 2 inside the half an hour that he was on. I was frustrated by Calafiori as well. As you know, I've got him not only because he's in the Arsenal defence from a clean sheet perspective, but also because I think there is upside in him from an attacking returns point. Obviously, ended up getting a point blank save out of Keller. It's just frustrating because he gets himself into such good positions. But at the moment, he just doesn't convert. He's just one of those frustrating kind of characters as it stands. And the only other areas where really I didn't get anything out of it that I could have hoped for was Udogie and with Enzo. We all said last week that we thought Newcastle were going to win, which I did. But because I didn't want to take any minuses, that was the reason why I still ended up with those 2 from Middlesex. In reality, going forwards, one of them will be coming out. I dropped Thiago because I didn't think that he would do anything against Arsenal, or rather, I hope that he didn't. So just to round it off, I had Vicario in goal, Munoz, Calafiori, Udogie. So I did 3-5-2. Enzo, Saka, Mbeumo, Semenyo, who got Defcon, and Malin. And my 2 up top was Woltemade and Haaland. But the reality is that I'm probably going to get... I've probably bit myself in the back with not putting Haaland as captain. But, you know, it is what it is.
That was strange to me because obviously you said what you were likely to do, which you didn't, which was a bit of a Guffs move. But
not really, because I actually said that my captain would depend on who I brought in. I just assumed that it was going to be someone from Liverpool, and then I went against that. So the person I brought in, I did captain. So no, didn't lie.
Again, you didn't lie, which is fair. But when I say it's a bit of a Guffs move,
it's fair.
Wait, let me finish. I'm the host. When I say it's a bit of a Guffs move, I'm saying we don't speaking about Saka,
Yeah.
We were speaking. We were saying about Saka, and you know,
and me not saying
you were saying some stuff about Saka.
Yeah.
Not an asset for FPL, and then you went and brought him in and captained him. There's that. I saw that. I thought this is cheeky because I said
talk the thing.
Well, if you let me.
What's the talk? What do you mean?
Because I saw that and I said, hey, I actually remember the convo and I was saying that
Yeah.
he's due. So I don't want to let go of this guy, why for that? But like, he's due. So that's what's annoying me about him. And then obviously
So-
when we made it clear that he's not the best asset for FPL, when I saw you bring him in instead of the Liverpool asset and captained him, I was like, boy, that might work out until the game week started and Haaland did what he did. Then I thought,
Yep.
nah, I don't know if he can do that much. Then he was benched. So I was like, but I knew he'd score. Obviously, I put it in our personal chat groups that he's going to score, don't
Yep.
worry. And he did. And like you said, he could have scored more.
This brother we had shorts going out this week, and this brother talking about Saka, FPL asset, not having him. And then the man brings me in captain. Like, what's going on there? Like, so I'm glad you brought it up, Hots. You know what I mean? Because this
I'm glad
this
you
guy
brought
likes
it up too. Like, I
this
don't
guy
feel-
likes to sort of, create this idea that, I'm the liar and Guffs does
But we
this and
don't
Guffs
create
does
it.
that.
You do lie.
Well, you
you
done the
do
exact
lie.
same thing that I done.
What are you talking about? What
But
did I
just
lie?
as worse.
Where did I lie?
Well, it doesn't make sense for you to talk about how.
No.
You're
You
not having him.
You can talk
Those are
about the
your words,
logic,
right?
but I didn't lie.
You said you're not
Nope.
having him.
Did I say
No.
that I'd never bring Saka
Should we
into
get the
my team?
tapes? There's time.
Yeah, we can
I can
get
show you the
tape.
tapes when you said
Yeah, get them.
as an FPL asset, you're not having
I'm
him.
denying what I said.
Okay, so you did say that, right?
I said that as an FPL asset, I'm not having him. And as an FPL asset, I'm not really having him. It was a pun. Like, none of the things that I said are incorrect. And what I will confirm is that I said my captain would depend on who I brought in, which I lived. I stood on 10 toes. I'm not like you.
No, you're not. You're worse.
Nah,
Yeah.
I'm not like you.
Those toes are looking creaky, my friend. man, 'cause
I'm not like you. And it was fine.
All right.
Look, I'm just fair. If when I analyze things, I like to just say it as I see it. So that's why I brought that up. But moving on from there, let's talk about my team. And I did put a Liverpool asset in. I took out Kudos for Gakpo. Kudos got an assist, and Gakpo got taken off at half time. I was pissed. I wanted Liverpool to get battered after that, but then I had Van Dijk. So then I was like, whoa. Don't get battered. Then they concede a goal. Now I don't care now. I want them to get battered. And then they get the equaliser. So, yeah, my team overall did good though. I can't lie. I was a bit frustrated at that and one of my other decisions. But yeah, going through my team, Raya got me a clean sheet. I had my Palace double. Munoz and Gay got the assist. For the Munoz goal and defensive contributions. They got the most bonus points between them. Van Dijk, as I said, was my other defender. And last week I said if he doesn't get a clean sheet, he's gone. And he got it. So he survived. And then now he's conceded. So he's on my watch list because I don't like the Liverpool defence as it is. So it's really a problem for me. But anyway, my midfield was Saka, who came off the bench and did something. No, I'm not even going to go through my whole team, if I'm honest. Bottom line is, I had Haaland captain. He did what he had to do. I got the most points out of us three. And unless Mbeumo, who I believe can go and get a double tomorrow, does that, it would be the right decision that I'm hosting. But the truth is, I wanted to put in Mbeumo or Fernandes, if I'm being honest. But my money was restricted. So I thought Gakpo might be the punt to go for.
And there's rumours that Bruno's not going to be available for tomorrow anyway. So it looks as though Mbeumo is the right guy to have gone for. But
well, he was the one I could afford. I couldn't afford Bruno Fernandes, number one. And then when I was trying to afford Mbeumo, I thought I'll put him in for these last two games because I like their fixtures. And the West Ham, I just feel like they're going to get smoked tomorrow. I hope they don't. I hope that it's like I 1-0 West Ham somehow, which is doubtful. And if Mbeumo gets you one goal, okay, a lot of people's got him. A lot of people's gonna make me get moved down in positions in the league. But like, if Mbeumo does nothing, I think it will be a very good green arrow for me this week. So that's what I'm hoping for.
I think
Talking
it's
about
more likely he
Mbeumo,
does nothing than he
I hope so.
does the double.
Bro, he's playing West Ham. He's playing West Ham, bro.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Let's be real. He's more than likely to do something tomorrow. Let's be real.
Not necessarily. West Ham are trash, but Man United are very meaty and up and down. We saw them struggle to create chances against a 10-man Everton. So it's not as if like Man United are some sort of like supreme team right now. Yes, he could score, but it can go either way. I wouldn't be surprised either way, to be quite honest with you.
I definitely wanted him over.
Mbeumo hasn't been in great. To honest, Mbeumo hasn't been.
He's due. He does it every season, man. Come on, we've had him last season. He does it every season. He has 2 games, no goals. He's gonna score. Then he has a couple games when he doesn't score, and then he definitely scores again. So he's due.
We'll see.
That's
I hope he does.
That's
He's
why I
my
wanted
team.
him.
That's what I'm hoping for.
I hope I'm wrong for once. But I definitely wanted him.
Oh.
That was my choice. But
Wrong for once.
Look, yeah. Because I was right about in the last few
we're
things I've
on form today. Okay.
Do you know what? I've just been right about the last few things I've said. That's all. But anyway, talking about Mbeumo, I'm talking about I wanted him for his last 2 games. Apparently, they've applied to have him for longer, so it might not even be 2. I pointed out in the last episode for anyone that missed it, because it has been quick succession, that if you had the Ghanaians, like I did, you heard what I did of Kudos for Gakpo. But anyway, if you had Kudos or Semenyo, Ghana are not in the African Cup of Nations, so they are not going away. So just remember that I said that in the last episode, and it was a reminder to anyone that didn't see that episode. But talking about the African Cup of Nations, Guffs, is there something you want to?
Yeah, look, I think we are getting to that time now where for those that don't know, with maybe some new players of the game or people that maybe are preoccupied with life, as life does get away from you. Game week 16, we get this new situation where, because of the African Cup of Nations, everyone's given essentially 5 free changes. So, if you are planning on making big changes next game week, probably isn't the smartest move unless you have changes in your pocket. It's probably worth just waiting until game week 16 because you're going to get 5 free changes. So I thought it would be a good time for us to sort of talk about maybe some of the players that we're looking at dumping and some of the players maybe we're looking at maybe bringing into our team, given that we have so many changes to hand. And I look at this as a kind of a stick or twist situation. So I've kind of got a selection of players here, which most players would have, I'm sure, have looked at over the last sort of few weeks, and some players that we've held on to for a long time, hoping that they come good, and maybe start to realize now that maybe they're not. So let's start from the beginning. I guess we've got Saka, who got his goal today, and has got himself in good positions and done well over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Got a goal against Sunderland, but at his price point, in my personal opinion, I'm not entirely sure if he's a stick at this point. I think there are combinations of players you can have at far cheaper price points who, are doing just as well as him and even better in some cases. I get that it's probably a controversial one, and you might have different views on how you feel about Saka. But my personal opinion is that I just don't know if he's going to be the Saka that we've been accustomed to seeing over the last 2 or 3 years. Plus, Madueke's clearly going to get some minutes off him. We saw today, obviously, that Madueke started the game, and I think that will happen more going forward, particularly in the month of December when there's lots of games coming up. You obviously touched on Semenyo already. Semenyo is obviously not going to the Cup of Nations, but his form has dipped. Viewers that have been watching us since the beginning would know that Arc did a section about Semenyo typically starting on fire and then fading away. Obviously, this season that form has went on longer than it usually did, but the same kind of process has kind of like kicked in where he's tailed off now. So do I think he'll score a goal here and there? Yeah, of course he will. He's a good player, but I'm not really forecasting the sort of the form that he was giving us at the beginning of this year. And I think some of the players that are kind of around his price point, the likes of Foden, who I'll come on to later on, are now sort of hitting form now. So it could be an opportunity to maybe pivot to a Foden who's only, I think, 0.3 or 0.4 more than him. Salah, I mean, Salah's been, poor all year, really. He's now getting benched as well. He will be going to the African Cup of Nations, so to me, that's a very obvious twist. You need to kind of dump Salah. I was looking in the on the FPL website, and he's still quite highly owned. Strangely enough, there's some players who clearly are still hoping.
It's the hope that kills, right?
Right. There's still people that are hoping that he'll come through, but I think that his ownership will drop dramatically in the next sort of week or two. So if you do own Salah, I advise you get rid of him now before you lose money. More importantly, as well.
It would have dropped anyway because we're coming up to Christmas, right? And once he puts his Christmas tree up, it's a wrap. He doesn't do anything post January.
That's very true.
Right.
But for many reasons, I think if you got Salah, get rid of him now. I mean, that's a very clear one for me. Doku, I think Doku's an interesting one. Doku looks busy, looks like he can cause damage. I think that he's someone that is, if you've got him in your team already, I think he's worth as a differential keeping hold of. Man City got some decent games. And he's still at a decent price point. João Pedro. Now, João Pedro's an interesting one because he's obviously been fairly poor in terms of an FPL asset recently. But Chelsea, I think they got Man City coming up soon. But outside of that, they got a fairly decent run. And I think with Cole Palmer now back into the team and being a very good supplier of passes, and I think you might see an injection from João Pedro. So I still think he's worth looking at, and if you do have him in your team, I would probably still just hang on to him for a little bit longer. I wouldn't necessarily buy him. So you want to say something?
Yeah. So with João Pedro,
yeah,
like where do you believe his position is going to be with Palmer back in the team?
Look, I think he's their number one striker right now. I think there will be possibly some rotation with Delap, but I think João Pedro is clearly their number one striker. And
okay.
I think that, because obviously Cole Palmer has been injured, Chelsea have flirted with a number of different systems. They've obviously had Enzo in a 10. They've had Pedro in a 10 at certain times and played Rep up front. But I think with Cole Palmer now coming back into the team and taking that 10 and making his own, I think that then basically puts João Pedro as a firm number 9, and that's where he'll be if he's on the pitch. So, I think that, strikers you mentioned last week are not the way to go in this game, but his price point, he's still, a decent price point, and he's worth keeping as a secondary striker to Haaland, in my opinion. Gyökeres hasn't really lived up to the billing so far. Obviously, there's been reasons for that, injury system and all that, but we got to look at Havertz is going to be coming back into the team soon for Arsenal. So, and Jesus is now obviously back in the bench. So his minutes are going to be compromising more. And Marino is currently banging goals as well. So
Marino, even though he's a midfielder, he's doing his thing up top.
Yeah.
So even for me, who's a big fan of Gyökeres, and I like the fact that Jesus is back and Havertz coming back, I think Moreno needs to keep playing up top for now until he goes for a cool patch. Then things can freshen up at the top. So it's a good problem. But I agree with that. I agree. I don't know what I see. The name with twist, I don't get that personally, if I'm being real. But he's definitely a twist.
Yeah, I mean, the whole.
Pedro's a twist for me too, by the way. But I'm just going to interrupt. I just don't think he plays 90 minutes anymore. He was in my team originally. I think with Palmer coming back in, it just means that Delap got injured, so then they have to play Pedro. Now I think that Pedro is going to get less time. I like Pedro, but I could say that I don't think he's going to get minutes and then captain him like Arc did with Saka this week. But
look, I appreciate some of these choices are going to be divisive, right? Everyone's going to have their own take on things.
Yeah.
you know, again, like moving on to Fernandes. Fernandes, I think if you've got him, I think you've got to keep him, really. I don't think he's been fantastic, but, you know, you look at the points, he's still doing okay for someone that, you know, when I ever watch Man United play, he doesn't seem to be doing anywhere near enough. But he plays 90 minutes, he's on penalties. And, you know, if Man United are doing good things, he's generally involved. You know, and I think someone like Fernandes, when all is said and done and the league's over, he's going to be up there as one of the highest point scorer in the game. He'll be up there probably in the top 10 or so, I think. So,
but the other reality is that there isn't many alternatives, right?
In what sense?
He's there now. Look, he's there United. Now. He's in the top now. He's not going African Cup of Nations. Their fixtures are not bad. He's their penalty taker. There's so many reasons why he's not going to get rotated. None of this rotation things that was going on, because we mentioned the rotation of Saka, or should I say, Art mentioned the rotation of Saka when he's talking about his team. But a lot of teams rotated this game week. Tomorrow, Bruno will be playing. There won't be no rotation there.
They only play one game a week, right? So
yeah,
no, but exactly. I'm saying this week they're playing two, and there won't be no rotation. Other teams are rotated that only play one game a week too. But he's someone that plays the 90 minutes every game, and that's just he's a. If looking at this whole graphic, him and Foden are the biggest sticks that are visible right now to me.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we look at this in terms of price points as well, right? So I mean, you know, Bruno Fernandes is around that sort of 9 million price point, and the people around him are the likes of Saka, are the likes of Palmer. So these are the people that you're probably comparing him to when you're thinking about, you know, who am I going to have? Obviously, Palmer's just come back from fitness. We don't know if he's going to be sort of like gently eased into the team, or what kind of fitness he's going to be over the next sort of 2 or 3 game weeks. Fernandes right now, picking out those 3 players, he's the one, to Hotz's point, right? He's going to play, right?
I mean, why would you compare him with those two, though?
Like, just simply because of the price points. I mean, I know that he's a million shy, but his
comparator would be Foden, right?
Well, Foden's 8.2, right? So, I mean, I put Foden in a slightly different. I know you're saying you can go million both ways, but I put Foden in a different sort of price. I put Foden like Foden and Mbeumo. There's certain guys around that price point. I think for Bruno, he's someone that if you've got a Saka in your team, that, you know, you could jump down to a Bruno Fernandes, had £1 million and put it elsewhere, because I think that he's going to get a similar amount of points or maybe more than Saka. So if I'm looking at it that way, right, like I'm going to go Bruno and have £1 million to put elsewhere, because I just don't think that Saka's worth £1 million.
Equally, if you haven't got Foden, you can put Foden in and save that, you know, roughly £1 million, and use that to improve a different position.
But Foden's not on penalties. But like, I mean, it's nice segue to Foden. Foden is obviously the last one on his graphic here. Obviously, he scored 4 goals in the last 2 games. He you know, Foden does seem to sort of score in bunches. He has his periods where he sort of is on fire and then he goes cold again. He's in a hot vein of form at this moment in time. Man City seemingly want to be on the charge now, and you know, he's kind of engineered that position now back on the right hand side, and no longer in the middle of the pitch. So, look, you know, I think Foden is one of those players that if you haven't got him, I'll be definitely thinking about putting him in the team. Some notable sort of people that I've also kind of like thought was worth just touching lighting on. Declan Rice, obviously, still fairly lowly owned, given the fact that he's on corners, he's on set pieces. Again, another one that plays pretty much every game, 90 minutes. He's definitely someone that, you know, if you need someone around that sort of 6 million price point, that he's definitely worth putting in. Likewise, Elliot Anderson, who is a DEFCON beast, and he's done very well so far this season. Morgan Rodgers, I personally own. You know, Villa have won, I think, 8 of the last 9 games, and he's been the driving force behind that. And he plays a 10. Again, another player that plays 90 minutes. Daniel Ballard is an interesting one. I think he's someone that I've watched quite closely over the season. He's very good in the air. He's a real terror from set pieces. Physical, is on the end of things. and is someone who can grab you goals as well as keep clean sheets. So he's another one that's quite interesting. My only worry with him is that Sunderland, I just don't think this form is going to last forever, and it's going to be a drop off at some point. But look, I think for now he's something worth looking at. Chalobah, purely because you look at Chelsea's defence, and outside of Cucurella, who's obviously much more money than him, he seems to be nailed on right now in that back four. And Chelsea have a decent defence. Michael Keane, again, plays every game right now. Everton are quite stingy at the back. And he's quite high in terms of the point scores in the league. And then obviously the other side of the coin is obviously people that, if you've got in your team still, or you're thinking about bringing people in, maybe avoid. Senesi started off really well, was collecting DEFCON points at a high rate, has tailed off quite a bit over the last 3 or 4 game weeks. Bournemouth seemed to sort of stall a little bit recently, and I don't know if he's still that great asset that he once was. I think there are people like Richards at Palace who are a similar price point, which is collecting 8 points every week, which is, I think, a much better way to go than Senesi at this point, I think. Dubravka, a guy that I own, again, he's a lot of people's second goalkeeper. He's quite highly owned. But I think, slightly more money, you could probably get a Roofs from Sunderland and someone who's going to get you much more points than he is. So he's someone worth deviating from. Kudos, obviously, Hots talked already about him selling him. He's not going to the African Cup of Nations, but for me, he's just very inconsistent. And I just don't really like Spurs. Kudos can get you some points one game, we can go 3 or 4 and do nothing. And
so I disagree. I actually think he's a good asset. I let my judgment on the fixtures make that change, and I'm already regretting it. And obviously, it'll be interesting. Like, I want some of the viewers to comment on the page. Tell me if you agree with these twists and sticks, and give us some interaction. Because I think some of these are debatable. You guys watching and listening may think so too. So give us your opinions, because what we've learned so far is things change. This league is probably the most exciting so far as an FPL manager. It's been crazy, because if you look at this list, Ollie Watkins has got 2 tonight. Is that going to be the revival of Ollie? Verts has scored tonight. Kudos got an assist, and I've taken him out for Gakpo, who Liverpool's got better fixtures. You just don't know. But, obviously there's obvious ones where I agree as well. So, it'll be interesting to know what some of the viewers think and the listeners. It's interesting times. One minute you think Chelsea's drawing off Arsenal, then getting beaten by, and then struggling against Leeds. So it's it is absolutely crazy right now. I can't lie. But,
I think this is what makes this section particularly appealing, because there is going to be a lot of kind of divided opinion on some of these people, right? And I think we're at a point in the game now where there's vast gaps opening up, right? Some people are chasing, some people are trying to consolidate their position at the top of leagues, and it is exciting because as badly as I'm doing right now, and I'm doing absolutely horrifically, the one solace that I have is that because there is such volatility in players' form, there is always an opportunity where I could just hit it at the right time and make big gains in 1 or 2 weeks and make some ground up. So, I think that, like I said, this is an opportunity for people like me who are struggling in leagues to make one last ditch attempt to kind of get the right players in now. To sort of finish it off a little, really. I mean, we've got obviously, Richarlison, which is another one I didn't mention in this thing. Richarlison is I think he's owned by 8% of people as currently stands, which is I think in the top 20 in the game, which is crazy to me, if I'm honest. I guess obviously they've been going with him as a striker because obviously they've had some issues with strikers. But I just don't rate him at all.
Probably a set from the beginning and set and stick. some people don't update their teams and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, that's
I
probably.
don't see logical reasons to have him, to be honest with you, and there's so many other strikers that you could go for in these price ranges. To be honest, I'm glad, even though I might not be doing as bad as you, and this ain't a dig, like, that's a sincere one. I'm looking forward to having 5 free changes too, because if I had my changes this week, I would have used probably 3 of them. And it's annoying right now because I don't want to take minuses when I know I've got 5 free changes coming and I don't want to give up points. And I'm a person that takes minuses, as you guys know, and I've done. But I'm just getting tired of watching this Foden picture because I wanted to put Foden in 2 games ago. And he's got 4 in 2, and it's winding me up. I can't lie. And then now it's like, to get him in, he was in the same price range as Mbeumo. So it's a -4 to do it, which is why I decided, you know what? Kudos. I'll just put in Gakpo for this week, and Foden got the 2. So it's just annoying me. So I can't wait for the 5 changes either, and I'm sure everyone else can't, because it's just going to help everyone. Even if you're in the top 10 in the world, you're still going to have 5 changes where you can, try to advance that position and go higher than top 10, top 5. So I think everyone's looking forward to it, to be honest. This is interesting.
What I will say is that the players that, most of us agree on in terms of like getting rid of, the inverse of that is an opportunity to maybe go against the grain, right? So, I mean, Hot's touched on Ollie Watkins, who's been trash all season, but he's got 2 today, right? So, maybe we are at the start of a nice. Well, I hope not, because he's got Arsenal next. But maybe we're at the start of an Ollie Watkins revival for 3 or 4 games, and he's very lowly owned right now. So there are opportunities if you feel brave to kind of just jump on potential bandwagons. Likewise, Florian Wirtz. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting point today to speak about this section because I know a lot of people that I speak to around the game are already thinking about who they're going to put in, who they're going to take out, and we'll probably touch on this again maybe next game week, because obviously we're approaching game 15 and obviously 16 is when it happens. So we've got a good go on, Arc.
Just to put an exclamation mark on what you're saying as well. For anybody that is out there, and if you are new to this, please do not build up your free transfers and not use them before you get given these 5 free hits, basically, from FPL, because you've got to remember that the flexibility is maximum of 5. So if you go into game week 16 with free transfers, you're not going to carry those. Like, they will only give you 2 extra transfers on top of that. So that's the one thing to remember and to have as caveated. But yeah, once you get those 5, obviously you can carry them forward and so on.
Yeah, I agree. But that's a good point.
I agree with a lot of the points that
yeah. Let's talk about our plans then. So, Guffs, what are you looking to do for the next game week?
Look, I took a -4. I wasn't going to this game week. And I just basically rolled the dice and took a -4. Hopefully it pays off. But next game week, there's going to be no minuses. I mean, Arc has really just touched on the point. It doesn't make sense to do it the week before. We're going to have the high free changes. I mean, looking at the fixtures, some of the changes that I made this week were kind of with next game week in mind. So, bringing in Hall and bringing in Mbeumo, I recognise they had 2 decent games coming up. So I've sort of attacked the 2 game weeks. So yeah, I don't know at this point what I'm going to do. I keep thinking Liverpool are gonna do something, and do I need to sort of cover one of their players, potentially a Gakpo, maybe a defender? But I just, at this point in the game now, 15 weeks in, we have to just trust what we're seeing with our eyes. And what we're seeing with our eyes right now is a Liverpool team that, for whatever reason, look like their legs have gone. They look slow. They look like again we got out. They're conceding chances. Look imbalanced. So I don't know if I'm going to go Liverpool, to be honest with you. The one player that I'm thinking of bringing in is Phil Foden. Slightly concerned that I might have missed a boat on him having scored 4 in the last 2 games. But he's at a good price point and I can afford him. And Man City do have a home game against Sunderland. So
if you can afford him, I think that's a no-brainer personally. I'm not trying to pressure you into putting in someone I think is was going to be in form and is in form. But I can't afford him. And that's the only reason he ain't coming in my team.
I think that's the move I'm probably going to make. Because they are at home to Sunderland and Man City generally are good at home. So probably Foden in maybe for Semenyo maybe. We'll see.
My changes are going to centre around defence or goalkeeper. I've got a bridge between the two. One of the Middlesex boys have to go. In reality, I think there is probably more upside in me changing the keeper than changing the defender at the moment. So that's what I'll be having a look at over the next couple of days in terms of which keeper I can go for in the kind of price range that I've got Vicario at. I think I'll need to wait until week 16 to get the 5 transfers in order to do some juggling to make sure that I've got the right type of defenders in. But as you know, my aim at the moment is just to build up my bench for when I go for that bench boost. So I do need to have some decent type defenders. But as I made the move with Saka ultimately maxed out all of the money that I had in the bank. So I have to be careful now in terms of where I go next. So yeah, in all likelihood, it will be the goalkeeper because I don't have a supreme level of confidence that Middlesex are going to keep a clean sheet against Brentford, even though they are at home. In fact, when they're at home, they seem to concede more than they do when they're away.
Is that their next game?
Yeah.
Cool.
Remember, I was saying last week,
it's
I'm
been
like,
a disaster
he
putting in Van Dijk. I don't know why I did it.
I think, I don't know, it's difficult. Like, all you can do is play the data and forecasting, right? Until things become as black and white as you're saying now. When you look at Liverpool and you be like, they just look like they're never gonna get that clean sheet. It's not a clean victory with them anymore. So now is the time to change. But I mean, it's only 1 week out, right? And then you can tinker as much as you want. But what are your plans?
Sorry, was you not finished?
No, I was. I said, what are your plans?
Okay, Ma.
Yeah.
So, so for me, it's a situation where I believe I'm definitely not taking minuses. There's no going. But because of the quick turnaround, if I'm honest, I haven't even thought about my next move yet. I just wanted to see what played out today. And obviously, I've been itching to get Mbeumo in. I wanted Fernandes because long term, I know he's not going away for Cup of Nations. But Mbeumo was the one I wanted because I believe he's going to do something. I hope not against West Ham, as I said, but that's what's my genuine belief. But now that I've put in Gakpo and he got taken off at half time, I feel like I need to just stick with him now because him coming off at half time probably means that he will start the next game. So
yeah,
I genuinely don't know what I'm going to do for this game week coming up, but I just can't wait for the 5 free transfers. And for me, I just hope that Mbeumo does nothing. And that's how
it's
I
really
feel about
strange
that.
though, because you know, you're talking about what likely happens with Nekpo. Like, I agree with you, because I don't think anything necessarily materially changed for them when they took him off and put Salah on. But their fixtures for the next 5-6 weeks are not even that bad. It's just that at the moment you can't put faith in them. But of the next 5, I think they've got 3 home games. I think Brighton, Wolves and Leeds, you'd expect that they get some clean sheets in there. But hey ho. like you say, they do keep undoing what we forecast, really.
Look, what I would say is we've talked about what we're roughly going to do, and there's been a pattern where Haaland's been the captain for most people every week. You went against it this week, surprisingly, or to mine and Guffs' surprise. Guffs, who's your captain this week? Or who you think is going to be your captain this week?
I mean, I think it has to be Haaland again. I know it's boring. I know that it's I'm chasing and stuff, but I think that Haaland at home to Sunderland just, I know Sunderland are decent this year, so I don't want to show me any disrespect. It's not necessarily a walkover, don't get me wrong. I just can't go against the data. Do you know what I mean? And he's the only one I really trust, to be honest with you. There are some other people that I was thinking about. Woltemade is playing at home to Burnley, which is a good one to attack. But I just don't know if Woltemade is he hasn't shown me yet that he's capable of scoring like 2 goals and assists. You know what I mean? This guy gets a goal, but I just haven't seen that kind of explosive performance from him yet for me to be taking risks and putting him as captain. So, Foden. This Foden obviously is on form right now. Can he get another 2 goals? I don't know. But look, reality is Hotsman. I'm going to go for Haaland again. Just seems to make sense to go with him.
Similar to what you were saying earlier, the quick turnaround has meant that I haven't really looked too deeply into what captain choices could be. I guess the reality is now that I have Saka in my team, it's, do I look at Saka as a guy that I can put in and say, yeah, I expect him to get a few for me? It's difficult to assess what Haaland will do against Sunderland for me because of Sunderland's form. But at the same time, when I look at who they've actually got in their defence, I don't see them being able to withstand or hold Haaland. So I don't necessarily think that the game is going to be a supreme victory for City, but Haaland will end up doing something. So it's whether I think that he's going to get 2 goals in that game or he's just going to get 1. But at the same time, he's starting to bring other things into his game, which is Harry ended up getting that assist the other day. And
Has he got a hat-trick yet?
This season.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure. Do you know the annoying thing about the game week was that I'd been doing some analysis on some of the data in terms of how he scores and where Fulham concede, and literally Fulham did exactly what the data had said to me. So it's more frustrating that I didn't take advantage of that, because they do seem to concede in like central areas. So hence Foden ended up getting his double against them, as well as even the other goals, even the goals for Reinders, is central areas again, and Arevi. So yes, Haaland's definitely the go-to pick, but I'll have a look to see, because I think United playing Wolves up, I believe. So again, it may be dependent on what happens from this game. If Mbeumo is in some sort of form going into that game, he could end up being an option as well.
For me, it's just Haaland's going to be my captain. I want to chase a differential this week, but we've seen that Haaland can do a blank, but I just don't see it. I feel like he minimum gets 1 goal, but there's some teams playing good opposition, and there's opportunity. The Newcastle Burnley one is appealing. Obviously, if I was to make a transfer and put a Newcastle player in, as you said, anyone playing Wolves is appealing. So there's options there if you want to do differential, but I think I'm just going to play it safe and have Haaland. So
there's one caveat to when we do this section. I always look at this section as what the possibilities out there, not solely for me. So I know, so sometimes it may come across as though I'm playing silly buggers with everybody in terms of giving an idea of what captain I will go for. And I do something different. Although, to be fair, like I said, the Saka thing was a complete wildcard moment for me. But like, just looking at it in general, I 100% agree with you, Guffs, with regards to Woltemade. I've said before that he's similar to Havertz. And in that scenario, what I mean is I don't see doubles in him, or like he'll get a goal and 3 assists or something like that. He's definitely doesn't give me Haaland vibes. But I mean, I've even seen somebody refer to him as Berbatov, which like it just made my head hot, to be fair. So I think, yes, he's decent, but I can't see him getting more than an assist or a goal. Like, and sometimes with him, it's just clear that he'll actually just get an assist, which will aggravate you if you put your captain on it. So yeah,
Mbeumo might want to go out for bang. So he's another one that I would consider.
What frustrated me about Woltemade was that the fact that he was in penalties when he first came to the club, scored them. I don't think he missed a penalty.
Yeah, correct. And now
they get
John
Mac, and now they get a penalty
again.
Yeah, and now Gordon's taking him. So
which makes him a transfer out for me.
Yeah, like it's those kind of things frustrate me, because it's like why would you take him a penalty when he's scoring penalties? You know, so
was Gordon playing when he was taking the penalties?
I'm not sure Gordon was on the pitch at the time,
because I believe Gordon was their penalty taker, and even now Gordon he got brought on because Barnes has been playing. Because like I said, this is why I'm captaining Haaland this week. This rotation is nonsense for me at this period, and I just want safety. Do you know?
Yeah.
But look, because there's the United and West Ham game tomorrow. You know, like I said, you guys might end up on more points than me if Mbeumo goes and does a double and just goes in. But
you stop trying to do one there. Like, let him do his thing.
Nah, let him do nothing. I suppose the biggest game next week, and as Arsenal fans too, is Villa Arsenal. Villa came back from being 2-0 down today to make it, was it 4-2, 4-3, sorry? And then on top of that, they've sort of been our bogey team away from home. So what's your thoughts on that? Starting with you guys.
Well, funny enough, we've actually done well at their ground the last few years. It's been the home games which we kind of often lost games to them, which has been quite painful. Look, Villa are the informed team in the league right now, right? They've won 8 of the last 9. They started off really poorly, and I think it coincided with this guy in the graphic, because when I was watching Villa, because I had some Villa assets at the beginning of the year, I had him and I had Watkins. I was watching him quite a bit, and obviously before the season started, there was a lot of talk around him potentially moving on, and maybe that kind of unsettled him. Maybe he kind of got too big for his boots. He seemed to be playing for himself, not for the team, or at least that's how I saw it. But I think he seems to have sort of settled down in recent weeks. Maybe playing for England and scoring a few goals for England has kind of used that form to propel him for Villa. But he's obviously central to most good things that they do. It's going to be a tough game, a really tough game. And it's unfortunate that we're playing these teams, Chelsea the last week and now Villa when they're at their peak of their powers, right? So if we can get out of this game, say we Arsenal with a win, I think it'd be a very, very, very big win. Because this is one of those games that the chasing pack are all hoping that we drop points in, right? So, when I look at this game, I look at who Arsenal played so far this season. Obviously, we've played a lot of the good teams away from home. This is another game to tick off, and if we can leave the stadium with a win, amazing. I mean, in terms of a scoreline, yeah, I'm going to say 2-1 Arsenal.
Fair enough. Statman, who doesn't predict Arsenal scorelines. What's your views on the game?
Yeah, I think it's actually quite an important game. Villa are not exactly a million miles away from us in the league. I think it's only like a 6 to 8 point difference.
6 points, yeah.
So from that perspective, a statement is needed. However, it's an away fixture. It's always going to be tough. Historically, us away to them does favour us. I think of the last 32 meetings that we've had, we've won 19. We'll have only won 8. But that doesn't say a lot for the fact that they're coming into form. Although, from what I can see, looking at the data and actually watching them, defensively, they're vulnerable. So I think it really does come down to, one, some of the personnel that we have, and the amount of control that we try to administer. The issue will always be that Villa's midfield is the same kind of combative midfield that we've got with Newcastle, for instance. So we know that it will be a battle, and I think we picked up a couple of injuries tonight. So it'd be useful to see what we've got going forwards for the weekend. In terms of where I see things, I still think that the major outlet for us is probably going to be Saka. Is partly the reason why, in an ideal world, I'd like Gyökeres to be back, because I think that he helps to platform what Saka can do. And I think that it's little things like that that are ultimately going to determine how we end up in that game. Watkins coming back into form is a frustrating thing simply because he seems to love scoring against us. And then obviously we've all seen that Rodgers is contributing both goals and assists this season. So, he's not a bad shout. We're probably going to need to be shutting down the guy that used to be at Norwich, Buendia. I hope that's the right pronunciation for him, rather than me massacring his name and having somebody upset with me. But yeah, I guess the way I see it will be tight. It really comes down to if we are up for it and if we're not leggy. I feel like even the game that Arsenal just played against Brentford, they didn't really get out of second gear, and they didn't go for it in the way that I would have hoped. And the one thing that I do hope is that the injury returnees coming back don't mess up our rhythm. Because when I looked at the team today, and that's part of the reason why I feel that having Gyökeres back would probably be good. As much as I love when Marino plays, I love when he plays for a number of different reasons, simply because I remember everybody being upset with him and us playing another DM, yada, 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 that kind of thing. So it's always up middle finger for when he comes on and he scores and things like this. But him playing up top, he does drop a hell of a lot deep. And it does take something away from us. It means that your wingers don't get the support that they need in terms of taking defenders away from them and so on.
Can't blame him for that as a midfielder. That's
yeah.
But it happens, and that's not what we necessarily need, and especially in games like this. So I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
And
it's a shame as well. Sorry, go on.
No. Carry on, Hutz, because you're
saying it's a shame because I was with you not just from last season, but Moreno is one of those players that I like. But you put him up top, he does a job. He can do a job in midfield. He just he scored today. He dropped back. He got an assist. So he does what he does his stuff, but when you're playing certain teams, you want your striker to just be up top and just be there. Yeah. And I think that this is one of those games. And it's like my heart's telling me, no, don't drop him until he has a bad game. But if he was to drop him for your careers, I'd understand why. So
yeah, and I think he will.
Yeah,
I think he will.
We need to rotate because what? Go on, sir.
No, I was just saying that I think he will drop him and put Gyökeres in. And I think that's the beauty of having a squad that is now returning to fitness, right?
Yeah. What I was going to say, because I think we're on the same page, it's mad how, we had no strikers at one point. Now we've got Jesus back, Havertz is on his way, Gyökeres back, our wingers are come back, Odegaard's come back. And now our two centre-backs are out. Another centre-back's got injured tonight. Rice had an injury tonight. It's like, so what? We're getting our attack back and then our defence is dropping. Like, I don't know what's going on with the injuries, and it's a bit of a concern as well. But we've got a squad. I'm confident in the squad. Just don't need no more players to drop out. But I think we'll beat Villa. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think that it's important that we can keep the momentum going. And, well, number one, do not lose a game. But two, if we can go out and beat Villa, it will send a big message to the league as, winning tonight has put us back in the position of 5 points clear of City. And I believe we're at early kickoff. So if we win that game, we got 8 points clear. And then the pressure is on the rest of the teams to win their games. And as we can see in, every game week, the big teams sort of win 1 week, draw another week. So if we can keep the momentum, it's good for us. I think Villa will be a threat. I think you pointed out their defence is a bit weak, but, against Arsenal, every team wants to step up. Every team wants to beat us. It's mad. And then you've got Martinez in goal, who obviously left us, got his little World Cup, was a decent goalkeeper, but he's always trying to get a clean sheet against us and stop us. So it's going to be, you've got the old manager there, Emery. So it's just like it's going to be an interesting game. But I still see a victory. I don't know if it's because I'm being too optimistic, but that's what I see. Scoreline, I've got Raya. I'm sure Timber's going to be back. So we can see that means everyone who's got Arsenal backline concedes. But I see Villa scoring. I'd say 2-1 Arsenal. I want to say 3-1. So I'm going to say 3-1. But hopefully I'm right. We'll see. It's only a few days here, like I said. Turnaround's been crazy. We'll be back with another episode shortly. You'll see some segments coming out as well.
One last thing before you come in, Hot, I'm going to finish the show off. Is to kind of reiterate what you said earlier in the show that, we do really appreciate everyone's, who watches the show and subscribes, but, we do also want some interaction from you guys too. So, please give us your thoughts generally on the things that we said in the show. We do want to hear your thoughts and your feelings about FPL, about the show. And yeah, any kind of feedback is always appreciated. So, as well as liking and subscribing, which is obviously something that we'll be doing anyway. Please comment.
He might want your feedback, but I only want you agreeing with my comments. Back to you, Hots.
Maybe when I was interrupted there, he was actually, it was a call for help. Maybe Guffs is actually saying,
"Oh wow,
when you reach out to us, maybe you might provide some advice. He might need a helping hand. Help a brother out is what he may be saying without saying it. So you feel free to comment about anything if you choose to comment. But yeah, as always, do like, subscribe, hit the bell, get those notifications. The next one will be coming soon. I'll say one thing before I end it. Because the game week wasn't done, there was no donut of the week. But currently there was going to be, tossing from Chelsea. If you saw what you saw, then you know why I'm saying that. But these games coming too thick and fast. Let's just focus on the next game week. Hopefully, Mbeumo does nothing for these two, and we'll be back for the next one. And hopefully, I'll be where I'm comfy in the middle again. And that's that.
Truth be told, when I wonder what the future holds.